Why do you want to become an investor?
It's an abstract, and I think I would say it's based on our wits or our chances. It's a risk.
First of all, you have to have general understanding of that industry to start with.
Imagine you doing a transaction between Nigeria and China and it delivers within a space. How I got to make that money, the profit on it, I don't know. But you get faced with few challenges and you feel, oh, it's time to give up. Maybe this thing is not for me. It's not for any of us.
Consistency, you have to be honesty, you have to.
Business, if you are being honest.
I am Agric, and I remain your host for the show. I am IBM Bangis and I remain your host for the show. Now, today on this episode of The Entrepreneur, we'll be talking about one of key or vital sectors when it comes to our economy, especially here in Nigeria, or let me say in Africa. There's this interesting quote that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And one of the good qualities in which you will get to know a good woman is her skills in the kitchen. And this goes on to tell us how important food plays, or let me say the role that food plays in our society, in our life, and in the whole world at large. Now, agriculture as a sector of the economy is very vital and very critical when it comes to success of every economy out there. There was a time when oil was a major commodity, there was a time when agriculture was a major thing for Nigeria. But after some times, the boom of oil came to be, and then people now shifted, or we all shifted from agriculture to oil. But right now, the current administration is trying to do all they can to see that they get more people into agriculture, to see that they get more young people into farming. Now, today we're going to be discussing some of the major problems when it comes to the agricultural sector. And one of the major problems that affect farmers or that affect agriculture as a sector out there is insecurity. This is an issue that we're all dealing with and we all have to face: insecurity. The fact that right now our farmers can no longer go to their farms peacefully and safely and farm their crops and bring it out because they are scared of bandits, they are scared of kidnappers, they are scared of people that could harm them or people that could take away their crops or their animals or whatever it is that they're doing out there in their farms. So insecurity is something that the government really has to do all it can to see that it's solved if it wants agriculture back on track, especially in Nigeria. Another problem that's affecting farmers out there is access to finances. Yes, we have all these different government agencies, we have all these private companies, we have people out there and organizations out there who are trying to see that they help and empower farmers. But the issue with that is that most of the times the finances don't get to the small scale farmers, it gets to the large scale farmers. But the small scale farmers are the most vital when it comes to sustaining any business out there. And believe me, I'm not saying the big scale farmers are not important. Yes, they're important. But the small scale farmers play a vital role in ensuring that at least we produce enough of what we eat and we can also export it out there. Now, these are just two major problems that are affecting the agricultural sector, and I think I'm going to expatiate further in our coming episode, but because of time I think I will cut it short today. Today I have a very interesting guest here today with me. He's someone who has had a vast experience when it comes to agric business. He's an agric entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur who has made an incredible amount of success in his own journey and his own lifetime. But I won't be bringing him until after the break. So do stay tuned for the break. So you're welcome from the break. If you're just joining us, I was talking about some of the major problems that are affecting agriculture as a sector in Nigeria here today. And I did mention that insecurity is one of them. And the second major problem is lack of finances or lack of access to finances. Now, again, I did mention that I have someone here in the studio here with me, someone who is an incredible person. He has achieved an incredible amount of success. He's an agric entrepreneur, the person of Mr. Suleiman. Mr. Suleiman, you're welcome to the Entrepreneur with IBM Bangis.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Suleiman, I wouldn't say I did justice to that introduction. So could you just tell us more about yourself, what you do, and what you're into right now at the moment?
My name is Suleiman Alassan.
Okay.
I was born in Auchi.
Okay.
And, I attended primary school, went on my mates attended primary school.
Okay.
I attended secondary when they went to secondary school. I went to university when they all went to university, and I graduated along with them.
Okay.
That's about who I am.
Okay. Okay. So what about what you're into? What do you do at the moment? Are you a civil servant? Are you a business person? I introduced you as an agric entrepreneur. So what part of agriculture are you doing?
Our journey in agriculture is basically we are heavily invested now in tree crop farming.
Okay.
And how did we get to this point? The journey started in 1984.
Wow.
Right out of secondary school, I was a research assistant with for a PhD for one guy who was doing his PhD. So I was following him about, and his PhD thesis was dealing with finances of agriculture, how farms work. Okay. He took 3 or 4 basic commercial farms around Auchi. It's around 1984-85. One was Leventis farm.
Okay.
The second one was Niger Valley. The third one was Agbede farm, and the Tamsax, and another one. What he observed in that research was that he just basically studied them, how they were set up, okay, what they did, how they raised money, how they function. However, after that research, the guy left. Fast forward 10 years later, after when I graduated from university, I started thinking. I realized one thing. Out of all these farms that were studied in 1985, only one was still surviving.
Okay.
Leventis farm.
Leventis farm.
Leventis farm, I will realize, was the only one surviving because it was the only one that didn't need to cut the head off each and every time, head of the snake. Let me explain what I mean. Okay. They had palm trees. Wow. At that time, they had 800 hectares of palm trees. Wow. They had rice. They had a lot of other things. Whereas all the other ones, Niger Valley was established by General Ini, formerly Minister Administrator of of Kwara State. Okay. So it's a very large farm. They had poultry, they had fish, they had just the typical things that people did now. However, after that 10-year period, everything, all the other farms had collapsed. Leventis, incidentally, when I was a little child, was the biggest employer. Actually, my grandfather, when he was king, was instrumental in establishing Leventis farm in the 50s. Okay. Through the 80s, Leventis was the biggest employer of labor in the then local government. Wow. Then, 10 years later, now I'm out of university, it is still the biggest employer. Wow. I sat down and started thinking, wait a minute, how do these people succeed that everybody else collapsed?
How did they have a sustainable system?
How did they? Then I was thinking, well, maybe, okay, the reason is because it was run by white people. Okay. But then, Agbede farm was also run by white people, Germans. But that one collapsed. They remained. Okay. Then, it dawned on me, okay, these guys have something that they planted that doesn't need to be replanted every year. It doesn't have stories to tell. It doesn't have plenty of moving parts. It has just one basic moving part. Every year, it's like that oil palm tree is like DHL. Guess what? It will deliver. Every year, it will ripe, you harvest, you process, you sell. It doesn't need anything. It doesn't need you to replant it again. So, that is how I came about the idea that this is exactly where the future of the economy is going to be. And that is how I came into agriculture.
Wow. Wow, wow, such an amazing story. Now, thank you for that. Now, there's something I want to ask you because, when it comes to agriculture right now, most of our viewers, or let me say, especially younger people in this generation right now, most people are like, let me say, should I say, they don't really like receive that news of, okay, getting into agriculture as they are supposed to. Because in the olden days, most people go into agriculture and, they become successful. But right now, most of these younger generations don't want to do farming because they believe there's no money out there in farming. So I want to ask you, do you think there are more opportunities in agriculture as it is right now? Or do you think there are more opportunities outside there, like the oil boom, industrialization, technology, and other things?
To be honest with you, based on my experience, agriculture, whether there's money in agriculture, will the sun shine?
And man will eat, right?
Yes, will the sun shine? So long as the sun will shine, people are going to eat. So long, there's no substitute to this. I understand it. When we were growing up, farmers were poor. But we are not talking about carrying a hoe to farm. This is agriculture on an industrial scale, and the return on the investment is
massive.
It's mind-boggling. I'll just give you a simple example. If you plant just 1 hectare of palm trees,
Okay.
1 hectare is about 150 trees. Basically, give or take 150 trees. And remember, when you plant this thing, after you nurture it, once it has grown, you don't have to do anything to it. After 3 years, 1 hectare will guarantee you 5 to 6 in the minimum, because if I tell the people actually how much they are going to make, they think it's a movie. In the minimum, have about 6 million naira a year, 1 hectare.
And you don't have to do anything.
No, you don't have to do anything, but you cannot run it like our typical inshallah and in Jesus' name way of doing things. When it has rules. When it's time to harvest, once you harvest, you have to mill it within 24 to 48 hours to get the best quality. Beyond that, I tell you, I just told you 6 million so that people will not think the figures like something like in the sky.
So someone could make more than that.
Yes, you can make a lot more than that. That's just one crop. When you take another one, I'll give you a very simple another one again that nobody thinks about it. But this is the reality. What is going on now is that if you go everywhere, the cost of wood has gotten more and more expensive. Wood gets expensive because people are cutting down trees.
Exactly.
The more they cut down trees, the more we have deforestation, and the wood gets. We must use wood. Now, for less, there's somebody watching this program now who has 100 hectares sitting down somewhere fallow. I tell you, you plant just 1 hectare of eucalyptus tree. 1 hectare only. 1 hectare will give you 5,000 trees because we plant them 1 meter apart. 5,000 trees. You don't think about cutting it down. That's after 7 years when it has matured. In 2 to 3 years time, with the leaves alone, we make eucalyptus oil from the leaves alone. You will make $20,000 to $30,000 a year from eucalyptus oil.
Wow.
This is not magic. You just cut the leaves down. We show you how to make it.
Okay. Wow.
So yes, are people looking for talking about is there money in agriculture? Of course, there's money in agriculture. Malaysia overtook us with palm trees.
And actually, interestingly, I heard that we supplied.
We supplied them. They came to. We were very glad to give it to them.
But right now, they are one of the world.
They are the biggest exporter of palm trees. But the truth is this: they have no advantage over us in Nigeria. It's the same tree.
Okay. So regardless of the country, regardless of the environmental distance, it doesn't affect it.
No, because the reason is this. If you take a pack of power oil, the one you buy in the market now, the one they say is good for your heart.
That's the power oil.
Okay, just turn the back and read it. The ingredient is made from palm oil.
Okay.
It's a palm oil. They make vegetable oil. So you control the process of production of goods and services from the beginning to the end. You plant the tree. The end product is vegetable oil.
Wow. Well, this is very, very interesting, and I have to say I like the passion that I see in you, especially discussing, palm trees and palm oil and all. But agriculture is also a business, just like any other businesses out there.
Yeah.
And in businesses, there are times when you make money, and there are times when you don't make money. There are times when you are on the advantage side, and there are times when you're going to be on the disadvantage side. So let me ask you now, as a farmer, or let me say as an agric entrepreneur, what has been your greatest fear as a farmer, and how have you been able to manage it? Because right now you're telling people back home to invest in agriculture, right? And of course, there are people who will have money, there are people who have this land and they want to invest in agriculture. But there's this question, okay, if I invest in agriculture, what's going to happen? Am I going to make money? Am I not going to make money? What if rain doesn't come? What if there's this clash between herders and farmers? Issues like that. So what is your greatest fear as a farmer, and how have you been able to manage it?
Okay, my greatest challenge came in the beginning.
Okay.
In 1996, I acquired 30, upon my return, I was still in the United States then.
Okay.
I acquired 37.5 hectares
Wow.
to plant palm trees.
Wow.
So what happened was that due to lack of experience, so when we planted the first 5 hectares.
Okay.
We didn't realize that you have to weed and give gap between the bush and what you plant.
Okay.
We didn't think of fire. But during the dry season, some people were running after rats, and they set the bush on fire trying to get to catch rats. And the whole 5 hectares burnt.
Wow. Wow. Everything burnt down.
Everything burned down.
Wow.
But the palm tree is the king tree. As soon as the rains came, they came back up again.
Really? Without doing anything?
No,
Just the rain?
we didn't do anything. I was despondent. I was feeling very
Definitely.
down.
Down, exactly.
I was discouraged, and then so I remember one day, the man looking after the place, I called him. I just called him to say, "How are you doing?" He said, everything is back again. The trees are growing." So that was the worst experience I've had so far. And you continue to your question. You said
the greatest fear.
the greatest fear, basically, of course, the issue of headers, insecurity. These are realities.
Okay.
There are things that happen. But the truth is this, though, we have to ask ourselves the question: cars kill people.
And every day we drive.
Every day we drive. We didn't stop driving cars because they kill people.
Exactly.
We didn't stop flying in airplanes because they kill people. If you are scared of security challenges, stop coming out of your house. The truth is this.
That's a good
I
advice.
tell you what's going on in this country. If you want to know, Nigerians, we are strong people, we are hardy people, we are can-do people.
Yes,
Go on the highway at night, travel from Kano to Lagos, you will see articulated trucks. You will see J5s, you will see trucks carrying goods and services.
Exactly.
You will not use your car if the Igbo man or the trader in Kano who sells motor parts becomes afraid of the highway and refuses to go and buy goods to sell parts for your vehicle.
Definitely.
We will not be cowed by these problems.
Wow. Wow. Well, Mr. Suleiman, I think I actually want to tap a little into your vast experience as a farmer. Now, you did mention some of the benefit that comes with, let me say, cultivating palm oil. Now, can you choose any other crop aside from palm oil? And just tell us the benefit of cultivating it, what it takes, and what is going to come out of it at the end of the day if someone should go into something like that.
Kola nuts.
Kola nuts.
Yes, kola nuts. In the east we worship it. In the north is we use kola nuts for everything in this country. Yeah, people, it's a national embarrassment. We are now importing kola nuts.
Wow.
Why are we importing kola nuts from Ivory Coast and Ghana? It's very simple. The trees that we are harvesting today were planted during Tafawa Balewa's government.
Really?
Bafemila Awolowo's government in the 60s.
Wow.
The trees are 60, 70 years old, so the yield is down. The population has increased.
Definitely.
That is the reason why kola nut farming is the next big thing. It's not just the kola nuts you are thinking. I give you a very simple example. There's industrial use for it, there's commercial use for it, there's social uses for it. Now, if you have become the smart one, let's assume that you are not very smart, or you are very, very smart, you say, okay, I don't have much sense. I'm only going to plant, I don't know anything about importing to the United States or Europe or to anywhere. I just want to plant it and sell it. I'll tell you what is inside kola nuts. One kola nut tree, the Hausa one, there are 2 types now, the local one and the Hausa one.
Oh, which one is the local one?
There's the one that has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the one they use, it has a technical name anyway.
Okay,
It's
so
the
is that
local one, the traditional one.
Okay, that's the local one.
Yes, that one takes longer to grow.
And is that from the south or from the north?
All of them grow up. Kola nut can grow anywhere in Nigeria, from the middle belt all the way down to the south. Kola nut can grow anywhere.
Exactly.
Now, there's one, the one that's very common in the north, these yellow and red ones.
Okay, yes,
Okay,
of course.
that one, just see the simple calculation if you want to know if kola nut is profitable. 1 hectare will hold you 770 trees on the average.
Wow.
One tree, a conservative estimate, you know what the tree is, it produces 1,000 seeds. 1,000 seeds.
1,000 seed of kola nut.
Yes, one tree.
Wow.
Then you do the calculation now. You are a very nice guy. You are a very nice man. You sell your kola nut for 10 naira for one. They are almost 100 naira now in Abuja for one. Anybody who bought kola nut knows kola nut bitter kola, they are almost over 100 and 150 naira.
Wow. So if you have one sage for 1,000, that's like 100,000 naira.
No, that's 1,000
Yes.
at 10 naira.
At 10
It
naira.
puts 10 about 1,000 seeds. It goes more than that, but I just want to give. I don't want to give people the expectation
Just
too high.
an idea.
Yes, 1,000 seeds times 10 naira.
Wow.
It's 10,000.
10,000.
10,000 is 771.
Wow.
It's 1 hectare gives 7 point something. That's basically, you just break it down. 600,000 naira a month guaranteed for the rest of your natural life,
Wow. Wow.
because it produces for up to 60, 70 years. For the rest of your natural life.
It keeps producing.
Yes,
every
it
year.
produces for 60, 70 years.
Do you have to keep applying?
You don't have to do anything to it. The moment it has grown, it has grown.
So long as rain is falling, sunlight is here.
It's so long as rain is falling, and it can withstand. It's so long as it gets rain, that's
To
enough.
withstand the test of time.
It will withstand 60, 70 years. You'll be long gone at that time. Your children.
Something you even leave for your younger generations to benefit from.
Yes, of course. What are we eating today?
Exactly.
The ones that were
The fruit
planted.
of our father's labors.
Yeah, exactly. I had a client who told me one day that I told him, say, Suleiman, how long will it take for this palm tree to grow? I told him 3 years.
Really?
If we plant the super crop, 2 years and 6 months it has to flower. In 3 years it will produce.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Wow.
He said to me, 3 years is a very, very long time. Kai, I'll tie my money down for 3 years. You know what I told him?
No.
I told him this. I said, my friend, you know the problem you are facing now? He said, no. Every generation blames the one before.
Exactly. Exactly. Definitely.
Right?
That's the trend, actually.
They will lower all our frustrations and put them at their doorstep.
Of course.
But it constitutes madness. When we have money, we repeat the same mistakes that the previous generation made. Why are young people, Nigerians, not investing in agriculture? It's very, very simple. Agriculture, if you take a young lady you want to marry, you cannot take her to 100 hectares that you just acquire and say, this is the future of our family. But if you bring a flashy car,
At least, of course, she will tell
that will get your attention.
Yeah.
A nice house will get her attention. So the Nigerian man has, from our father's time, I'm very sorry to say this, we are heavily invested in our 4 cardinal principles. What are these 4 cardinal principles? 1, as soon as we get money, we acquire properties. We acquire cars.
Liability.
We acquire women. And then we acquire chieftaincy titles.
Exactly. I think these are the 4 major things
That we do. Now we forget that these 3, the purpose of these 3 is to crush this one. So on the average, we wonder why do we go broke? We go broke because we do not have structures. When I lived in the United States for the first time, I saw the power of plantation business.
Wow.
Just imagine somebody now who plants 10 hectares of palm trees. 10 hectares. Okay? Think about it this way. He makes 500,000 naira a month, 6 million naira a year. That's 60 million.
Wow. Wow.
That is what he's going to get. No, 60 million in the minimum, because if he becomes very smart, he goes beyond just palm oil. When he will bleach palm oil, it becomes vegetable oil. So he's no longer manufacturing. It just get the logic of the business. You are controlling the means of production from beginning to the end. Nobody can come from Malaysia and decide across your business. It's inflation proof. It's recession proof. It's irresponsible government policy proof. Nothing will happen that people will no longer use vegetable oil or palm oil. It's an essential commodity. You controlling it
every single day of our lives. Yeah.
You control it from the beginning to the end. Tell me, if somebody come from Malaysia, what are they going to do? They're going to manufacture their palm oil from the sky?
It's not possible.
It's not possible. It's the same tree, the same thing you are doing, the same thing they are going to do. Meanwhile, they have to import their own.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Mr. Suleiman, this is really an eye opener, and I have to tell you, like I don't even want to cut you short. I just want to keep you going, just talking, because I'm really enjoying, and I'm sure most of our viewers back home also are enjoying. But then also, Mr. Suleiman, I want to ask you this question, because you've been talking about palm oil, kola nut, and all these are crops, or let me say crops.
Cash
right?
crops, yeah.
Cash crops. So why not animal farming? Why crops?
Okay.
For you.
I'll tell you my experience and what I've seen with most of my friends. Animal farming has to be like poultry. I use poultry as a very good example.
Exactly.
Poultry. In poultry, they say there's a mugu born every day. You look at it this way. Of every 10 poultries you see, 8 or 9 will fail within the first 3 years.
Oh, really?
I see so many people who have invested their pension in poultry. You know why? They think that it has too many moving parts. I use the civil servant as an example. A friend of mine, when he was going to retire, he said he wanted to go into poultry farming. I asked him, I said, look, listen to me. I've done poultry farming. I do this business. I'm in these farms. Let me give you brotherly advice so that you don't end up in the intensive care unit.
Intensive care.
And I see you.
Okay.
It's okay, what is it? He actually retired for UBA. He was the regional manager for UBA.
Okay.
He said he wants to do poultry, but he has some consultant who was going to explain to him. I asked him a simple question. I said, does this consultant have a farm? He said, but it's a consultant. I said, okay, let me tell you what is going to happen. Poultry has too many moving parts. There are too many things that are out of your control. Each and every time you must cut off the head of the snake. What does that mean? Each and every time you must buy the chicks.
Exactly.
You raise them. There's vaccines. There's contingencies can come. So many factors can affect this business. It's not a business for somebody who is going to do half measures. For you to succeed in this, you must control it from nursery. From nursery, that's from a hatchery,
exactly,
down to the finished product. Basically, you must have a cold room because you will quickly soon find out your chickens may mature at the time where there's no market.
No, but interestingly, I think most of the times you tend to see that people tend to go towards layers because they feel layers will lay eggs and there will always be market for eggs.
Yes,
people will always consume eggs. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, it can be very successful. But the only drawback I see, and with all that I've studied over a period of time, you cannot do it with a typical inshallah and in Jesus mentality that we have. You got to pay attention
Every single day.
Yes, you can't be a typical Nigerian big man. You come at 11 o'clock in the day and then you come and say, okay, how you are doing? Fine. You will fail. It's a hands-on business. Yes,
So
you can make money from it.
You have to really be invested in it.
You already have to invest in it. You have to be there.
Wow.
You have to be there. You have to understand why they were supposed to clean the pen. Why it was not done at 10 o'clock in the morning. Why is it at 2 o'clock in the morning? You have to be there.
Wow. Interesting. I think this is really an eye-opener, especially for people who are back home. But because of time, I think we're going to take a short break. Please do stay tuned for the break. I'll see you after the break. All right, you're welcome from the break, and if you're just joining us, I'm having an interesting discussion, or let me say conversation about agriculture, farming, especially kola nut and palm oil farming with Mr. Suleiman here. Mr. Suleiman, thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us, because man, I have to tell you, it's really an eye-opener for us, especially for me, a young person who is not too into agriculture, and I'm still looking at agriculture as something, as a potential, something I could potentially do. I think what you've just said right now has really changed my perception from just probably getting a government job to, looking for a career in agriculture. I think that's something that will really, really pay. Now, I want to ask you this question, Mr. Suleiman. Given all this experience that you have at the moment right now, everything you've gathered, everything you've been through, everything you've seen when it comes to agriculture, if you were to start all over from the beginning, what will you do different from how you started?
Okay, if I was to start everything all over again, what will I do differently?
Yeah.
I would have acquired 1,000 hectares. That's what I would have done differently.
If you had the money at that
If
time.
I had the money, I would have I would have acquired 1,000 hectares.
Okay, and what would you have planted on 1,000 hectares?
I will plant the same oil palm.
Palm oil.
And the simple reason is this: Nigeria, we have a deficit of 100,000 hectares. In our lifetime, even if we plant 10,000 hectares a year for the next 10 years, we will not be able to meet our national demand.
Exactly.
Yes, if I knew what I know now, I would plant 100 times what I did the first time.
You'll have been a billionaire by now, right?
It's not so much the money you concern about.
Exactly.
It's the productivity.
Okay.
I told you about Leventis farm. My grandfather leased Leventis farm to leased the land to Leventis in the 50s when he was king. Now, Leventis farm, if you go to that village today, it's in Edo State, in Agenebode. You enter the village at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to see anybody.
Wow.
Because everybody's working there.
Exactly.
It has been the biggest employer for more than 70 years.
And it's still doing it till now.
It's still doing it till tomorrow.
Wow, that's
People living in the village making 50,000 naira a month.
Wow.
And somebody living in the city is struggling to get 25, 30,000.
Exactly. And I think that's very, very true. That's
Yes.
very true. Exactly. And I think, that's actually something that people should really, 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 really look into. Because you tend to see, a lot of people here will be like, okay, they don't want to go back to the village to go and farm because they feel, okay, maybe it's something that menial people should do. People who didn't go to school should do that. Well, they'll be in the cities, struggling with their degrees, looking for jobs, helter-skelter. Sometimes they get a job and they're underpaid, and a lot of issues come into play. So I think people should actually go back to the village, pick up their hoes. Do they have to pick up their hoe?
No, they don't have to pick up their hoes.
Right now is industrial farming, right?
I had an experience with that. My grandfather had a cocoa farm.
Okay.
So as we all went crazy because of oil, everybody left.
Okay.
So one of my relatives was having a hard time in the city. So he came back home. That was in 2019.
Okay.
He met me. He said, I need money to this. I told him, I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Do you remember our grandfather had a cocoa plantation? He's very young now. He said he didn't know. I said, okay, get in the car. I drove him to the place. It turned out that the plantation has been, when there was an oil spill, they burnt some of it, but some of the trees, maybe like 200 trees survived. I gave him money. I said, you see these cocoa trees? This is your ticket out of poverty.
Wow.
We gave him money. I said, go ahead and resuscitate the trees. He resuscitated the trees. As he woke up every day and he went to that bush to go and look after the cocoa trees, nobody paid attention to him. They just see him wear clothes, dirty clothes, and go to the farm. It's when he bought the car.
Everybody's eyes open.
Okay, everybody now said, wait a minute, by the way, sir, this cocoa
What is it that you're doing?
This cocoa, cocoa. Now, everybody now remember that our grandfather had a cocoa farm.
And they now want to go into it.
Everybody now wants to go into it. Of course, there's another thing again. People see some trees in some villages just going waste to waste. The reason is very simple. For a business to be viable, it has to have minimums. For viability,
Exactly.
you have to have minimums. You cannot survive on 5 cocoa trees.
Of course.
But once you meet the minimum, then you are good to go.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Well, Mr. Suleiman, because of time, I think I will have to cut you short. But I'm going to ask you one last question, and I want you to please answer me in just 10 seconds.
Yes.
Now, what advice will you give to viewers who are back home and looking at you right now and thinking, okay, maybe I want to go into farming, or young people who are just out of school, no jobs? still an option for them to go into farming, what advice will you give to them? In just 10 seconds.
This is what I'm going to tell the young people. The definition of madness is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you want to break the circle, the trap that our parents fell into, avoid the 4 cardinal principles: gathering of houses, gathering of women, gathering of cars, gathering of chieftaincy titles. Invest in industrial agriculture. This one will secure the future of your children and generations yet unborn. If you follow the same track of your parents, you are going to fall in the same ditch.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Suleiman, and thank you so much for watching. And if you want to contact Mr. Suleiman in any way for you to get to know more about cocoa farming, about palm oil farming, you can always contact us on TSTV, and then we'll link you up. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week.
And I think I would say it's based on our wits or our chances. It's a risk.
First of all, you have to have general understanding of that industry to start with.
Imagine you doing a transaction between Nigeria and China and it delivers within the spirit. How I got to make that money, the profit on it, I don't know. But you get faced with few challenges and you feel, oh, it's time to give up. Maybe this thing is not for me. It's not for any of us.
Consistency, you have to be honesty, you have to.
Business is about being honest.
I am a and I remain your host for the show.